Hello everyone, welcome to part 5 years residency training and beyond. I'm Dr. Viswanath Aluru, attending physician in physical medicine rehabilitation at Optional Health in New Orleans. In this video, we will discuss about electronic medical records and proper documentation. First of all, I want to tell you, if you are an international medical graduate or a foreign medical graduate, and if your first language is not English, there might be some challenges in terms of like spoken English or written English. So I highly recommend, if you have some time between your match day and starting your internship, take some online classes or take some classes like a live lectures to improve the vocabulary, to improve the communication, grammar. So it makes it much easier for you when you start your internship or residency training. And the second important thing I wanted to mention is your orientation training. So you must and should attend orientation, because this is the time during which you meet one-on-one with the IT department. They will set up your logins. They will give in detail training about all the electronic health records that you will be using, and they will also help you to save some of the note templates that you will be using on a daily basis. In that way, you will save a lot of time. Let me tell you, this is highly important that you sit with an IT specialist. You prepare those templates according to your needs and save them under your login. So whenever you open to select and to write some note, it becomes much easier to pull the information. Otherwise, it takes really long time for you, and you would never be able to complete all your medical records on time, and it will affect other aspects of your patient care on a day-to-day basis. Because internship, residency, it's a very high busy environment. So I want to be able to use the time wisely, organize things and prioritize things, as I mentioned in my previous videos. That's why it's important for you to save these templates. Sometimes there might be certain phrases or sentences that you would be using in your notes like every single day. So I highly recommend you save those phrases or sentences, so that you can actually, with one click, you can put in that sentence or two sentences, even three sentences, without typing all those sentences or words. Try to find ways to save time when you're documenting stuff, because sometimes it becomes a never ending task if you don't use your time wisely. You have to be smart enough to be able to complete all your records at the same time, not take too much time in order documenting all the information. That's another important thing that I wanted to mention. As an intern or as a resident, attendings know that you don't know each and everything what's going on. So it's okay for you to ask for help if you don't know something, or if you're not sure where to look for, because that's what the seniors or your chiefs or your attendings or program director expect from you. If you ask for help, there will be help, and don't think it's a bad thing or it's inferior for you to ask for help when it is needed. If you don't ask for help, then actually that's a problem. So that's why it's always important to keep your team up to date and ask them questions if you don't know something, or if you need something, or if any kind of help. In terms of electronic medical records, now most of the programs have turned into electronic medical records or electronic health records. So I don't know if there are any program that's using paper records. Okay, so but some hospitals, some programs, they use only one record throughout the institution organization. Some programs might have 2-3 different systems that they use for various reasons. One for inpatient, one for outpatient, one for medications orders, radiology. So depending on the program where you are going, so you will be trained on all these different systems. You will be given access to all these different systems. Okay, and also you will be going to several satellite locations, hospitals, for your rotations. So you need to know that you should have access to electronic records in all those locations. So your IT department will help you to set up all those accesses. In terms of like different types of notes, before we move on to that, I want to tell you some important points about using electronic medical records. Always save your user ID password in a very safe location, okay, so that you will never forget it and it's easy to access. Because if you type wrong passwords, wrong usernames, you will get locked out, and then you have to open a ticket, you have to wait for the IT to resolve the issue. All these things take time, especially when you're running short of time. That's why I always try to save your user ID and password in a safe place. Never ever share your credentials, user ID, password with anyone else. This is exclusively for your access alone. No one should have access to the electronic medical records under your login, so only you will be able to use your login information to put in the information or to make changes as needed, okay. And never keep the record open when you are not at the desk. Always log off when you're leaving the desk. Very important, because of the patient information safety. And also never print the electronic records or patient information and leave them on the table, on the desk, or throw them in the regular garbage cans or dustbins, because again, it's a liability. You should always use appropriate ways to shred all those paper. It's very important also. And also, when you open certain notes to write and then you leave them without signing, okay, so they will sit there and you will never get back to them, and they will be incomplete. Never leave the notes incomplete. You should always, when you start a note, you should complete it, you should sign it, okay. Never leave the notes incomplete. Very important. And another important point is, because you're still in the residency training, each and every note that you put in must be attested by your attending physician. So it's important to know that who is your attending physician for that rotation, or who is the on-call physician, and then appropriately send forward the notes to them, so they will attest your notes saying that they agree with your recommendations, with your findings, all those things. So these are some of the most. And also, at the end of each note, you have to put in the chain of communications. Very important. Say so and so patient or case was discussed with senior resident, or so and so chief resident, and so attending physician. So it's very important to keep that chain of communication very clear in your notes. Sometimes you try to reach your attending, or they are not available, and if you have to sign out to the incoming on-call resident, you should always tell them that this is where it stopped, so that they know who to follow up with or who to inform about this patient, okay. Sometimes if you don't inform, because the attending sometimes may not know the patient might be in emergency, or the patient might be on the floor admitted. So it's always important to keep that line of communication clear, very clear. So those are the most important things that you have to keep in mind. There's another important thing is inbox. So every electronic medical record will have an inbox, like an email inbox. So you should check that inbox several times every single day, because all your incomplete notes or any communication from electronic medical records section, they will all go to the inbox. So that needs to be addressed every single day. So in that way, you are not like have a lot of backlogs and keep trying to clear that inbox from time to time. So with this, I'm going to move into different types of notes. So there are mainly two settings, right? Inpatient setting and outpatient setting. In the inpatient setting, you will have, say, 4 or 5 different types of situations. One is like a consult. So the patient is already in the hospital and other specialty consulted you for some reason. So then you have to put in a consult note. And the second situation is the patient wants to get admitted to your department. Then you have to admit the patient. Then you have to put in a admission note. And then once the patient get admitted, you go see the patient on a day-to-day basis, and then you have to put a progress note, because you want to update what's going on. The fourth one is, once the patient is ready for discharge, then you have to document everything what happened to that patient during the course. So then you have to put in a discharge summary after discharge. Then there is another important thing is the procedure note. So if you're a surgery resident, you usually do like a pre-op note, pre-procedure note. before the patient going to the operating room, and then after the procedure immediately the resident or intern have to put a immediate post-op note. Okay, so but the actual procedure note will be written by the primary surgeon, so you don't have to. So its immediate post-op note is a short description of the procedure. And also if you're doing any bedside procedures, then you have to write a procedure note in that situation also. And in the case of any acute change in a status, you have to put in a significant event notes. There will be significant events that will happen, like change in mental status or hypotension, syncopal episode, any change in fall. So these things have to be documented like a significant event notes. So these are the main notes types that you will be using throughout the inpatient stay. When it comes to outpatient clinics, so there are mainly three different types. One is your initial consult note in the clinic, and then there will be a follow-up note when the patient comes back to see you after the initial visit, and then there are any procedures that you might have done in a clinic setting. So these are the three different types of documentation that you use in a outpatient setting. So for each and every note that you put in the computer, you have to assign a billing code, how much time you spent with the patient, whether it is a consult, whether it is an admission, initial visit, follow-up visit, progress, or a discharge summary. So you have to assign appropriate billing that we will discuss in the next video. So these are some of the different note types and different scenarios where you use these notes. Okay, in the next video we will discuss in detail about all of these different note types, okay, and all the different ICD codes that you have to use for different diagnoses. I hope you find this video informative. I will see you all in another video. Thank you.